Yes. Beautiful ones you look out there. Hey, yeah. Sometimes in the week. It is. We are. Yeah. You should come with English. Good break. I was playing English lesson. It was fine. Hold on. See ya. Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you'll be nice Sunday we ain't been here. We're involved. Yeah, the Holy Spirit. We're traveling. People over. Yeah. Yeah. Every half hour, so we say that. That's the. We'll spend. Nice. May bring some. Yeah. Good. You doing fun? Is there? I can imagine. How did how's your? Especially like she said chicken. If telling me one song. Oh. Those are better. Kelly told me that is the most people. For bodies. Well, and they all often run for corners. They get a lot of people choose to try to find. I wrote well, first, how many forms? There's like four of us. Seven of us. Hours now. But just you guys go. You can just. Yeah. Thanks for being online, Kelly online. We can get started or we can wait on the. Thank you in a minute. It's funny. I don't think it's been long. Yeah. You try to Figuring it out.
Why? Yeah, they just it's different. Also very different. It is great. Yeah, that's well. That was just the feeling was everything that you was hearing. That's very wonderful. They spend just like stuff that things that not people would drop. They want to say, I was 17 when I was we're gonna give it a couple more minutes before we start.
Okay.
You said 4. Powered. Hi.
Good.
Good. All right, thank you everybody for coming to the NAB Ward 4 meeting. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Larissa, since you're the last one here, you get to start us off.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Thank you. We will move into roll call.
Review, Ben Johnson,
Present.
Kelly Orr,
Present.
Mano. Present. Rebecca Flannery is absent at this time. Larissa Beauty. Present. Victoria Luck is absent at this time. Trenton Kelly.
Present.
We have a quorum of the Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item A2, public comment. Do you have any, or?
I have one, yes. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the mayor's agenda. And I may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. You're called on for public comment. Please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you'll be recorded in 3 minutes. If you're attending the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand at this time. We'll start with Tammy Holstill. Where do you want me? You can stay with putting wherever you like.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Tammy Holtzville, and I am running for Washoe County Commissioner District 5. Coming out to introduce myself, let you know that I'm available. I have cards if you want my phone number and contact information. A little bit about me, I think some of you probably already know I'm for appropriate planning. I am trying to get Swan Lake and the effluent situation cleaned up because Swan Lake is 100% contaminated except for mercury. It's the only thing that didn't show up in that test that we did. Another one is Lemon Drive and RTC wanting to spend $88 million on a 2-lane road on a silt berm right on the edge of Swan Lake. Not gonna, it's a lot of money for nothing. So I'm about being conservative, doing the right thing, having everything out in the open. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get a hold of me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
With that, I do not have any additional.
Alrighty, thank you. We're gonna move on to A3, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Where's the meeting and motion to approve the agenda?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, agenda is approved. Next step is approval of the minutes. So we have two here, for the meeting on December 18th of last year. I also need a motion to approve this one.
You can do these together as well.
Oh, you do both? That would be amazing.
Go for it.
Approval to approve both of those meeting minutes. Can I get a motion for that?
Where's the meeting and motion to approve the minutes?
Second. Second. Alright, all in favor? Aye. Motion is approved. Alright, we'll move on to 8.5, the council liaison report.
You do not have Councilwoman Ebert here yet. If you want, we can move on and come back to her.
Yes, definitely. Is she gonna be here today?
She has accepted it on her calendar.
Okay. What about the staff liaison?
I have got something for you. Short presentation today, and some reminders. It's been a while, so hi everyone. I haven't seen anyone since like January, so good to see everyone. Just wanted to remind you all about Reno.Direct, the city's non-emergency service center. We have some cards here as well if you need to get in contact with them. And then a reminder about quorum. Thanks to everyone confirming your attendance. We love to see it. And then a reminder about newsletters, the Ward 4 newsletter, the Development Projects newsletter, and the Council Agendas newsletter. You can find those all on Reno.Gov under How Do I, and then sign up for our newsletters. And then I wanted to highlight a newer one, the Reno Report. This provides a snapshot of the latest City of Reno news from our city manager, Jackie Bryant. So you can find that in the same place. We have some City of Reno engagement opportunities coming up. I think at the last meeting, we were supposed to have the Parks Department here. They weren't able to come to this one, but they have a survey out right now about some potential improvements you might like to see at Dorothy McLendon Parks. So you can scan that QR code. You can go to Reno.gov/engage, or attached to the meeting on Reno.gov/meetings, you'll see the flyer, the same information. Keep Trucking Meadows Beautiful also wanted us to pass on a volunteer opportunity. They are hosting their Great Community Cleanup. That should say May 2nd, 2026. So not May 22nd, May 2nd. So they have various locations to participate in the cleanup around the city, and then they will be hosting a volunteer appreciation picnic at I think it's the Rancho San Rafael Regional Park. That's always really fun. So you can find more information at ktmv.org, or you can volunteer at ktmv.org/volunteer. On our feedback and public comment tonight, we just have one development project. So if you could turn in worksheets by Wednesday, I'll talk a little bit about that in a couple slides, and then just the usual avenues to submit public comment to City Council and Planning Commission on the screen there. I'm gonna dive into a short training today. It's gonna focus on the updates made to the Board and Commission resolution in late March. So to give you an overview, the Board and Commission resolution was established last August. At the time, Council asked for staff to bring it back after the boards had some time to operate under the rules. So at that March 25th meeting, Council approved the changes listed on this slide, in addition to some others. These included administrative updates, defining terms, meeting time limits, chair and secretary rules, and some now specific updates. First is that the resolution allows for boards to meet more than 12 times a year with city manager approval. And you might remember from the previous resolution that any member with 3 or more unexcused absences can be removed from the board.
The updated resolution defines excused absences as a failure to attend a meeting without providing notice to the board officers or the staff liaison at least 72 hours prior to the meeting. So if you're serving in a secretary role, I should say, and you're not hearing from someone, just let me know, just so we can keep track of it. That said, none of these changes can be made without the council liaison, so we'll always go through her before anyone is removed. What I'm sure everyone's very excited about is that the new resolution removed the 2-hour time limit for NAB meetings that meet outside of City Hall. Now, all board and commission meetings wherever they meet are limited to 3 hours from the time the meeting is called to order to adjournment, unless the council liaison seeks approval by the city manager to go beyond that limit. The new resolution also clarifies some of the chair's ability. So while the chair is responsible for managing the flow of meetings, they're also able to impose time limits for presenters, public commenters, and board members. So, you know, for example, we were to have a controversial item, lots of public comment, the chair could limit public comment to a minimum of 1 minute and 30 seconds per person. This would have to be applied equally throughout the night to every public commenter on any item, just to make sure that it's fair. Chairs can also set discussion limits for board members. These rules mirror those established for city council and allow for open and fair discussion for all board members and the council liaison. And then lastly, the chair can move agenda items around in any order. We just like to do that during the approval of agenda items. The resolution also has some new language regarding the secretary role. So even though Kelsey's so wonderful and does the role for us, if we were to have another one next year, or we had trouble selecting a secretary, those duties would fall to the chair, then the vice chair, and then we would go down the list of board members in alphabetical order. But hopefully we don't have to do that. For now specifically, only a few changes were made. The resolution requires that all boards and commissions establish bylaws, but the NABs were exempt from this requirement. Because there are 6 NABs, we like for everyone to operate under the same rules. That way we don't have to kind of administer all 6 of those separately. And lastly, I mentioned the project review worksheets. The resolution creates a 72-hour deadline for those. This is not meant to make it, you know, more difficult for you to get those in. It's just trying to help us make sure that we can get those comments to the planning department so they can receive your feedback earlier. And if you're submitting feedback after this, just send your comments directly to planning staff or to the planning commission. And if you ever need help getting in contact with planning staff, just let me know. Happy to connect you. That concludes the update this month. Next week on Wednesday, we have a Reno City Council meeting at 10 a.m. Then we have a planning commission meeting in May on May 7th. That's a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. And then the next board meeting will be here on May 21st. Happy to answer any questions if anyone has any about changes or general questions.
Does anyone on the board have any questions?
So if this is Kelsey, not on the record, if this is not the correct form, please let me know. But as secretary, when I reach out to everyone, if I don't have the correct email, will you guys just let me know, or if there's like a better email for me to reach out to? Because I'm not hearing from everybody. And so if there's something, a way that I can, you know, get a hold of people a little bit better, that would be greatly appreciated, just so I can hear back, because I'm not hearing back from everybody. So
I don't think I've ever gotten an email.
So I'm using the email that's on the Reno.Gov website.
Your application.
Yeah, and so if it's different than what you put on the application to be a board member, let me know. So that way, again, if you have not received anything from me, please let me know, so that way I can reach out and we can connect a little better.
So also, if you like have a separate email that you want calendar invites sent to, because I know some people like to get those to work emails because that's where they manage their calendar. Happy to include other emails on that as well.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Kelly, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Ready? Good, move on.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on to our development project review, and we're gonna go to B1.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brooke Oswald. I'm with the ORET Group. Representing the project tonight is Hillside Foursquares Church. I'll go over that in just a little bit. I want to thank you all for participating in this process and the boards and giving your time on this. It's important, the feedback and getting to the community on this. So this is a really high level approval, and I don't know how much everyone knows about development and approval process. This is a master plan amendment, zoning map amendment. So these are really high. These are 20,000 feet in the air. These aren't on the ground. We're not going to talk about development. What we are is really just setting the framework and what development can happen there. So the project is about 6.87 acres. It's currently 2 parcels. I'll zoom in a little bit closer and you can see it's located at the terminus of Sutro Street. Sutro goes up and dead ends off of there, just off of McCarran. Our current master plan designation is single family, and our zoning designation is single family, 3 dwelling units per acre. The request is for a master plan to take that single family and make it suburban mixed use, and to take the zoning amendment from 3 dwelling units per acre to the mixed use suburban development. There's also a unique thing happening in this. This is even a level above the city, which is our Truckee Meadow Regional Planning Agency. They have a set of tiers, and their tiers determine levels of development. So tier 1 being the most developed, 2, and then moving out through there. It's currently a tier 2, sort of a remnant. It is surrounded by tier 1, and it would just be updating that through the regional process. Ooh, I wanted to go quick, sorry. One more, maybe, see if it's, I wonder if it's back there. Sorry. Oh, okay, here we are. So there's 2, it actually consists of 2 parcels of 5, about 1 of 5, about 5 acres and one of 1.83 acres. You can see the 2 parcels. The one larger parcel currently has the Hillside Church on that. They're parking, and then you can see they've been staging 395 development. So there's been sound walls going in, and NDOT has been using some of their property for staging. As you can see, Sutro comes up and splits that property. Now that was when 395 originally had a different alignment, and you can see some of the impacts on the other property. They realigned 395. They originally were going to run Sutro under. They chose not to do that and to move those on and off ramps to the south a little bit. So what that's created is they went through the eminent domain process to get that roadway, and then they've never used it. And so that's still there. Those adjacent property rights have the right to ask for an abandonment of that. We'd anticipate they will. What right now they're just trying to figure out what the cost would be back, because they were paid for that land originally. And there's some other tie-up that some of the eminent domain went with the expansion of 395. So it's trying to figure out really the cost that was paid for. Right now, we're just doing those big zoning and master plans. When the abandonment comes in, it will just absorb what the zoning is next to it. The church is remaining. It'll be conforming under the residential. It has to come in for a special use permit. It's been there for several years. The MS zoning, or that mixed use suburban zoning, makes it conforming under that zoning. So it is illegal under that. The eminent domain of 395 we talked about. And then that right away, they are anticipating to come in and abandon that in the future. So you'd see that come before you again when they went forward with that. The master use land, we're looking at these properties right here. This is multifamily, 30 dwelling units per acre. These are that SMU that runs here. This is another project that was recently agendized on your calendar here. There was one where we had the cancellation due to weather, and then we didn't have quorum the next time. We did try to come out on both of those times and let you know. This is actually changed to the same SMU, or is moving to change forward to that same zoning as we're proposing, and the same master plan. That'll be at City Council next Wednesday. So as you can see, we go from the yellow over to the pink, and you can see the yellow really is an anomaly in an island here, and we are tying it back into what we're seeing adjacent to the project as you go up Sutro. And then this is the zoning coming back in. As you can see, sort of a similar process is happening there, where we're going from the lower density single family up into that MS zoning, which you're seeing is already established across 395 there. So what are the benefits of this and what are the findings that the hearing bodies will need to make? The church continues as a community facility and conforms to the zoning. It makes it conforming. It brings the zoning in alignment with the surrounding properties. It supports that future infill on it's a really an underutilized site. So it provides that opportunity to build housing, a little bit more density that's there. And as you can see, it's MF30 around that. It already is a sort of a dense surrounding neighborhood. So this would be more in conformance with that. And there's really no new infrastructure or burden on the city. They're already providing services of our emergency, police and fire. Your sewer and water are all in close proximity, would be run at the developments expressed to get there. So we're not looking at a big expense through the city. And then you're also seeing from the city's point of view, with development, you're seeing increased property tax burden, which comes back to the city to help support those services. We do have a master plan conformance. As I showed, that is conforming what's around there. Our public services are available. It is compatible with that surrounding land use. We're not requesting any future development that would be out of character. And then NRS, which is our Nevada revised statute, that's your state law. We're meeting all the state law statutes. And Title 18. Title 18 is the land development code. That's the down on the ground how this builds. And so this all conforms to that. Just to quickly go through our hearing schedule, we're looking at being at Planning Commission May 21st. 2026. That's our next hearing. The Planning Commission in a zoning and master plan, they actually don't make a decision, they make a recommendation. So they'll be making a recommendation of approval or denial to City Council, then it'll move on to City Council. One of the things we do have coming up is a neighborhood meeting. If you'd like to hear more about the project or if we have more time to talk about it, that will be April 28th. That will be right at the Hillside Church. So we'll be close for those neighbors to come in and talk about this, and we can take more input at that time prior to going to the hearing in May. Our city council is planned after the May 21st. Those are usually about a month after that. So we'd be seeing the end part of June. And then we do have to go to the Truckee Meadows Regional for conformance review. So your master plan needs to be looked at as a regional conforming to make sure it conforms with our regional plan. And then, as I mentioned before, that tier change, making sure we up that tier change so it fits their density and things. Our conversations with both city staff and regional is that they are supportive of the regional tier change and that density up thing. So we're anticipating moving forward as we are at this point. With that, once again, I'm Brooke Oswald with the Rep Planning Group. If you have any questions, I can do them now, or if you as you're filling out your forms or you have any questions on this, please reach out to me.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Go ahead and stay up there. I'm going to ask you.
All right.
So, Ben Johnson for the record. I do know your church. My son used to go to daycare there for about a year.
Mhm.
My question is, so that triangle zone, right, that you guys are trying to get changed.
Yes.
What is the plan for that property? Is it to sell it for single family use so that it can be filled in with that? Or is it to expand your church, or what is it?
And right now, the church is just really looking at it's that high level, looking at, hey, currently it's single family would allow 3 homes per acre or something like that. Our surrounding neighborhood is much more dense. Maybe it's more for a little bit more dense project. So there are no plans at this point. What I would anticipate is that they would maybe work with a multifamily developer and either parcelize and sell that and let them develop that up in that area as multifamily. Could come in as a small commercial project, some of the other uses that are allowed under the mixed use suburban. Yep.
This is one question.
That was my question as well, so.
Yeah, and that's it. We're just setting that framework. So it could go, it kind of, development depends on the market, what's available, developers, the cost of the times to do it. So it could, we'd anticipate maybe a multifamily or small multifamily commercial project in that. And then for the church, it would allow them to expand if they wanted to offer more daycare or small schooling services. They do have that land where it's currently staging, and that would allow them the opportunity to do schooling or expand their operation.
Questions?
Oh, you just answered mine about the church.
Wonderful.
Kelly, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Great.
All right, we got
Well,
off
thank-
today, sir.
thank you
Thank
all.
so much for coming.
Reach out if you have any questions or on any projects or anything like that.
Yeah.
Thank you. No public comment.
You know, okay. All right, we're gonna move on to the business items. First one is C1, City of Reno financial update.
So good evening, I'm Vicki Van Buren, Director of Finance for the City of Reno. And tonight I have for you kind of a very high level overview of how the budget works. There's a lot of information. I've tried to pick things that I feel are kind of important to explain how the budget works for the city in an overall overarching way, and then kind of talk about next year what that's going to look like as far as the budget build for the city. So a little bit about my department, finance department, we process normal everyday things, pay bills and do all that. But I'd like to talk about budget development and the financial audit process. Those are the two big processes that we do each year. So we spend about half the year, I would say, developing the budget for the next year, and then half the year closing out the prior year and producing the financial statements, which are then also audited by outside auditors. I used to say we spent half the year doing each, but I would say budget is all year now with the challenges that we have. So I'm going to talk a little bit about accounting for the non-accountants that are here. In governmental accounting, we use what we call fund accounting. And fund accounting, if you haven't done it before, it's as if you're using a separate checkbook for every single fund. Because our funds are necessarily dedicated a lot of times to specific things, we have to segregate them. And if you were to do this, on your own, it's kind of like having a separate checkbook for each one. We do separate, they have separate balance sheets and everything. They may roll up into one category, but we track a lot of these. We have over 100 different funds that we do, basically separate checkbooks. I've given you kind of some examples here of how it's broken down. But again, there are over 100 of these that we track, and they do roll up in the financials into some of these categories. So in general, we have what we call governmental funds and proprietary funds. On the governmental side, the largest one is the general fund, and that's usually what people think about when they think about city government. They think about police, fire, parks, muni courts, all the things that people generally think about when you think about government services. Those are typically in the general fund, and that's going to be your largest one. So I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about that one tonight, just because that's mostly what people think about when they think about the city. We also have special revenue funds. These are funds that are dedicated for a specific purpose, either by law or policy for that purpose. And the revenues that come in for that have to be used for that purpose. We have debt service funds, again, just for debt service. Those revenues are used for that. And then large capital project funds. On the proprietary side, we have enterprise funds and we have internal service funds. Enterprise proprietary funds, we treat those kind of like a business. Someone's paying for a service. We do the service and we get paid for that. And so we call those enterprise funds. We have two of them. We have the sewer fund, which are for the sewer residents of the city of Reno. And then we have the building permit fund where people come in and they do building permits, residential, commercial. So those are our two major enterprise funds. We also have internal service funds. And what these are when the city provides a service to another city department. In this case, a good example of one of these that's on here, a motor vehicle fund. So all the police vehicles that you see them driving around, we have a fleet department that services those vehicles within the city. And so the police department within their budget pays for X amount for the vehicles that they have to cover those for the fleet department to do that service. So instead of them taking outside to a private business, we actually do that service internally and we treat it like a business. So these are the different types of funds that we have. So when I talk about funds, this is why I kind of spend a little time on this, because if you're not familiar with it, you'll wonder, why do you keep talking about funds and what is that? So next slide. Next slide. Thank you. So overall, Total city budget. This is the current year budget, not the one we're developing for next year. That one's still in process. So I'm going to talk a lot about how the current city budget is and a little bit about the build for next year because that one has not been finalized yet. So the current city budget is right at $1 billion between all the different fund types that I just talked about, the roll-ups of those. You can see the general fund is the largest in there. It's $350 million. Enterprise funds is 371, but if you remember, that's building and sewer. So that's those two funds together in there. So still, general fund is the largest fund that we have in the city budget. People often say, where does all the money go? That $1 billion, what does it pay for? Well, it pays for public safety, judicial, community support, parks and recreation. We have public works where we have maintenance and operations. We have streets. We have sewer. We have some reserves, we have debt service that we pay for, redevelopment, and then general government, which would include finance, city council, city manager, city clerk, HR, IT, all of those things that support all of these other departments are considered general government. In total in the city, this gives you an idea of how many full-time positions are in the city. We have a little over 1,500 full-time positions in the city. Again, this is broken down by fund because that's how we bill and pay for these positions. And so if you look at general fund, there's a little over 1,200 positions in the general fund of the total 1,500. And if you look at just public safety, police, fire, and dispatch, that's 852 of those positions in the general fund. So about 70% of the general fund positions are police, fire, and dispatch. A good measure, a lot of times people want to see how many employees do we have per 1,000 residents to see how we compare to other jurisdictions. You can see City of Reno, we have about 5 employees per 1,000 residents. We are the lowest on this chart when compared to Vegas, Sparks, and other local jurisdictions. Most range between the 5 and 6 mark, and there are a few that have a few more. But in general, on this table, if you look at it, we have the least amount of employees per residents. So I'm going to spend a little time talking about the general fund, the largest fund that we have, and the one that everyone's kind of more familiar with. The general fund, the revenues, we have $321 million in revenues in the current year budget. You can see that one little red piece slice up there, about $10 million of one-time funds. Last year, we used some one-time funds in order to balance the budget. We were running to challenges where inflationary expense costs are outpacing the revenue growth that we were seeing. As part of making a balanced budget, one-time funds were used to balance the revenue side of this, and you'll see expenditures, what we did on that side as well, but I wanted to point that out. Some of the one-time funds included property sales, some fund balance that we had, which is basically savings, and some other excess funds that we had. The biggest pieces in our revenues for the general fund are consolidated tax and property tax. Between those two, it's about 60% of the budget. If you look at franchise fees and business licenses, if you look at those top 4, that's 80% of the budget from 4 sources. So it's a big deal because if you see changes in those, it really impacts the budget. If you see changes in these other small pieces outside of that 20%, they can fluctuate a little bit and it really doesn't impact the budget that much. These big 4 pieces, yes, if we see even a slight change, it impacts the budget. Wanted to talk a little bit about C-tax because people say, well, how did we get here? How did we get to a point where revenues are out? Revenues are not keeping pace with expenditures. I'm going to talk a little bit about compounding growth and the compounding growth rate when you have it as far as revenues. When you look at consolidated tax is mostly sales tax. It's about 90% sales tax and then a few other taxes that are in there. And that's why they call it a consolidated tax. But it's mostly sales tax. It's very volatile because it reflects what the economy's doing, what's happening in the economy. And if you look out at the 5 years that I've kind of tagged out there, starting in fiscal year 23, we actually had a decline in revenue growth that year. And then going out from that, we've had very low growth following that. Normal growth outside of, crazy swings that you see
should be around 4% a year. And that's because you have population growth that is about 2% a year, people moving in and spending money, and then 2% for inflation. So inflation, everything costs more every year. So normal growth should be about 4%. You see lots of swings in here because those are things happening with the economy, happening at, the federal level, other policies that are going on. But focusing on that 5-year period on the outside, that's where I want to kind of show you what happens. So in fiscal year 23, we had negative growth. If we had normal growth, that would be in this lighter gray bar, 4% growth. If we continued to have 4% growth, that's your light gray bar going out over the same five-year period. The growth we're either had or we're anticipating is shown in that darker bar next to it. The difference between those bars, that red line area in there, is the revenue growth that we've lost over the years. And you don't just get that back the next year. If you lose it this year, you can't grow on it the next year. It's just like when you invest your money, you let it compound. The same thing happens here with revenue growth for us. And so that red area between what we actually are earning or projecting to earn and what we could have earned under normal growth circumstances over a 5-year period is almost $40 million in 5 years. And so when we get out in fiscal year 27 and we start next year, we're not starting at $20 million. We're starting at $9 million of growth. It doesn't catch up. Once you kind of fall behind, that's where you are. The problem with this is that inflation typically goes up every year. It may level off, but it continues up, never really goes down. And so you combine those and this creates an inequity. This one that I was just talking about, this is consolidated tax, the largest revenue source that we have. And when you go on to this one, these are the top 4 sources that I told you. These make up 80% of our budget. These 4 out here, C-tax, franchise fees, and licenses and permits over the last few years, these have all had slow revenue growth. The only one that hasn't is property tax. Property tax is now slowing down for 27. So, you have challenges with each one of them, but we've had slow revenue growth in 3 of our, or even declining. You can see franchise fees declined in 25 because that's going to fluctuate based on weather and usage. These 3 have had slow and even reduced revenue growth over the last 3 years, and we're projecting that for the next couple of years as well. And what does that mean? It's you disrupt that momentum and you not only lose the income for the current year, you lose that income potential for those years as you go out forward. And because of this isn't a short-term fix. It's not a short-term problem. We're going to fix it this year and we're going to balance the budget. This is a long-term problem as we continue to look forward and inflation continues to raise the prices on everything. There are 3 solutions. You can reduce expenses, you can increase revenues, or you can do a combination of both. Those are the 3 options. And so you'll see that that's really what we're doing. You saw on the revenue side, we had 10 million of one-time money. On the expenditure side, we reduced expenses by $16 million. That's how we bridged that $25 million gap that we had in the current year budget. Revenues, 10 million, and decreasing expenses by the 16. That's the bridging of the gap. You can see that most of our expenses are salary and benefits. We are a service organization. 81% is salary and benefits. There's not a lot of space to make a lot of cuts. We did make some cuts. Some of these are one-time only. Some we can continue to do, but most of these we can't continue to do long-term. So we have to come up with other solutions. Many of these solutions that we saw for last year, we're continuing those for next year. Continuing to keep service and supplies low. We don't have a contingency that we're budgeting in the budget. We're doing an annual capital, which would be parks maintenance, building maintenance, those type of things from one-time money for next year. We are funding the full fleet replacement program for next year. You can't really skip that more than a year at a time. You have to have vehicles. You have to have those things that the people need to do their jobs. We had 20 frozen positions with this budget current year, and during the year we actually froze another 8. So we have 28 frozen positions right now in the current year budget.
planned for next year for 27 budget, an additional 8 frozen positions. So we have 36 frozen positions proposed for next year's budget. What are the priorities when you look at it? You know, where's the money going? We've talked about this, you know, 64% when you look at total budgets for the different departments, 64% goes to safe community, which is police, fire, and dispatch. They don't exist on their own. So this is kind of misleading to say it's only 64% of the budget because they can't exist without civil service, HR, IT, you know, finance, all the people that support them. So really it's not 64%. There's a lot else that goes into that, but gives you an idea of it's a lot of dollars going toward public safety. Same information, just in a different graphic, so you can get, you know, just a different view of it. You can see police is 112 million, fires 85 million, and dispatch is 10 million. Really big piece of that pie. And then your general government, which is going to be all those support services that support all of these things, the next piece. And then we have Parks and Rec too. So outside of that, you say, well, we don't have any money. Are we actually doing anything? Are we doing any infrastructure? Are we doing other things? Well, yes, we are, because we have some funds that are dedicated for certain purposes, like the sewer fund. We're doing $200 million in sewer work and sewer infrastructure. The street fund has dedicated funding to it. We'll do 14 million in neighborhood streets programs and street refurbishment. We have some general capital projects. These would normally come from the general fund. These in this year were being sourced through one-time funds. Same thing we're projecting for next year. This is going to be your parks maintenance and your building maintenance and the maintenance items that we have to do to keep things going. We have some RDA money, which is Redevelopment Association, and then we have some regional construction tax, which these funds are dedicated just to new parks and new park facilities. Thank you. I hear you getting. So when we talk about capital projects, we have what we call capital improvement, which are new things or major remodels, and then we have capital maintenance. Buildings that we have to maintain, we have parks, we have parking lots, and then we have a lot of other things to maintain, like the Riverwalk meter, parking meters, Reno Arch, just a lot of maintenance needs and not enough money to go around, really. Look at debt history. I wanted to touch a little bit on this. People ask, where's our debt and what does it look like? This goes back to 2007. You can see that in 2009, we were at a high about $625 million in debt. We're down to about 500, a little below the 500 mark now. Out in 2006, we are issuing $70 million this month for the American Flats Advanced Purified Water Facility for the sewer fund. That is paid, this bond will be paid for through sewer, the sewer fund itself. So it's not through the general fund because it's sewer infrastructure. But even with that, we're still right at that $500 million range. The thing I like about this chart is you see the dark area at the bottom and the light gray area in the middle. It really shows you where most of the debt that we have is. That dark area at the bottom, that's the retract debt, the debt that was taken out to put the railroad underground in downtown Reno to get that trench built. That's that dark area. That debt goes on for a very long time. It was a very expensive project. And then the gray area that you see there, that's the event center, the bowling stadium, and the ballroom when those were built. And so again, very, very large projects. The debt goes for a long time. So you're going to see those for a long time, but that's the majority of the debt that we have outstanding. Same information, but different chart because this really shows you, are we paying down debt? Yes. And you can see this. Again, what I said, 2009, we were at $625 million. Now we're down to below, we're around $450 million, and we're going to issue the Advanced Purified Water Facility, $70 million bond this year. And so we'll be around that $500 million mark. But this is the cycle you should see as we pay down debt and then you take out new debt to build big facilities. It's just like getting a mortgage for your home. You wouldn't pay it with cash. You're going to mortgage it over the long term and the useful life of the facility.
bond rating, where are we at for bond rating? We're in the AAA range, which is the high grade range. This has increased several steps since I've been with the city almost 10 years. We've increased several steps. You do that through paying your debt on time, being conservative with our budget, making sure that we're not overextending ourselves in any way. So we have increased our rating here. What this means for an individual, this would be like your credit score at home. The better your credit score, the better you're going to be able to go out and get mortgages or loans when you need it. The same thing for the city. We are able to get really good rates when we need to go out and get debt, and this is really beneficial to us. Looking ahead to the next year's budget, what does that look like? Again, what I said, many of the same things that we were doing this current year budget, we're doing to balance next year's budget. The first roll up of that budget we had in November, we were around $24 million short between revenues and expenditures. We knew this as we did the projections last year, that this is not a short-term fix. It's going to be a long-term problem and continue to be a problem for us as we move forward. One of the things that we're doing that we didn't do in the current year budget is next year we're going to budget for a vacancy rate savings. Normally when we budget that every position is filled all year long. That's not typically the case because someone retires, someone leaves for another reason. The time between it takes between that person leaving and you get another person on board, you have a vacancy savings. We typically have a savings rate of about 2.5% to 3% every year in this space. And then we would use that for one-time projects or other things, but you won't recognize this until you close out the books each year. By budgeting for it during the year at that 2% rate, which is conservative, I believe, is capturing the savings within the year and helping us bridge some of the gap that we're seeing in the budget. We also did zero-based budgeting to justify every department. Every department was required to build their budget from scratch and justify every single dollar. We're using some one-time sources that we had to do some of the annual capital maintenance. We're deferring some additional funding that we were doing to OPEB and workers' comp. We're still paying what we currently owe each year. We were trying to build up funding to fund the liability in the future. So basically build a savings account, and we're deferring some of that because it's not required, but it's a nice to have. And then we're also using some savings from the current year because, again, we didn't budget for vacancy savings this year. We know we're going to have savings in that space. And then in February 11th, council did approve an increase to the sanitation franchise fee, went from 8% up to 14%. Sparks did this last year. It is one area where council did have an opportunity to make a change that makes a big impact. This change results in about $5.5 million of annual income as we move forward. So this is really, the plan as much as we can do for next year, increasing revenues where we can in a way that it makes a difference, and then decreasing expenses, the things that we talked about, combination of both. That's where we're living, and that's where we're going to be. I don't know if you've seen any of the Sparks meetings they've had this week in Washoe County. They have the same issues, that revenues are just not keeping pace with expenses for the reasons that we've talked about here. We had a March 4th budget workshop with council where we went through the entire budget in detail. I give monthly briefings every month to council at the second meeting of each month. The next monthly financial update is this coming Wednesday. I will do an update with that. And then on May 6th, we are going to have a full council budget review of the budget document again. Again, there's not a lot of space to make changes to things or change anything at this point. I mean, we're very limited as to what we can do. We'll do a presentation to our financial advisory board on May 14th, and then the public hearing for the budget for next year is on May 20th. And so that concludes my presentation. If you want to know more about the city's budget, all of these documents are online for the budget as we work through the budget process. Our financials are online, our audits are online, and the digital budget book that you see in this screen, you can actually drill down and kind of look at different charts and departments, and you can really get into some granular stuff, if you want to look at different stuff out there. So that's what I have for you, and I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Vicki. Ben Johnson, for record. I do have a couple questions. The first one is, why are we not freezing all capital improvement projects? Not the capital maintenance projects, but the capital improvement. So, purchasing and building more buildings, things like that. Why are we not freezing that for the interim?
Do you have a particular project that
So
you're?
no, I don't, right? That's it. So I'm only going off of just some of your slides there. So if you have two buckets for your capital, right? So you have
Yes.
your new, right?
Yes.
Your capital improvement projects, and then you have your maintenance, right? So that's say like the police departments needs new bathrooms, right? Because they're out of service, right? And so that's a capital project, and that's a budget for that, and that's the maintenance. Then okay, well, the police department wants another outside bathroom for their yard, right? So I don't know what all the projects you guys have, so I'm
Right.
kind of speaking out of my rear end about it a bit. I'm just curious if there are any capital improvement projects that are just not necessary for this year, and why we aren't freezing those. Do you know of any of them that are like that?
I can't think of any capital projects that we have that would be general funded like this. We have some capital projects that are going on that are funded through other sources, those special sources. So we have some through the community development block grants. So those qualify based on the area they're located in and benefit to the community. So we have capital projects that happen with those every year because those funds are grant funds basically. We also have some capital projects that are going on with Redevelopment Association. Those agencies have funding that is direct to them, not part of this. So they have capital projects associated with those. So those are only the real new projects that we have that are outside because they have their own funding source and it has to be used for certain purposes.
Got it.
Like the sewer project, that's really one we're doing, but it's again, sewer funded.
Yeah, that makes sense. Last question. Have we looked into selling some of our property and releasing it back from whoever we sell it to? So for example, the bowling stadium, right? We own that outright, correct?
No, we have bonds associated. with
Okay,
that.
okay. That's what-
That was that big gray area of debt.
Got it.
Yes.
I was just curious if that was an option to get rid of maintenance costs and things like that, right? We sell the property and we do a 100-year lease on it and then have the owners do the maintenance and such on it. So,
You know, we're always looking at all kinds of options like that. Even if we owe money on things, we're still looking
yeah,
at different options on various things. Council is reviewing, selling a lot of the properties that we had along, the railroad track area. They're looking at selling some of those. So you're going to see some of those coming forward. We have tenants that lease those and some of those tenants want to purchase those or maybe don't want to purchase them. And council is looking at selling some of those properties.
I don't want to take any more time, so go ahead. Wait, Megan, would you like to start us off with anything other than what I've already asked?
No, I think that's a great question and good information for people to know why we're not doing that. And also, you know, Vicky is working with different members of the team and staff to try and find those opportunities. And it is a great way to kind of not have to deal with maintenance parts and contracting all that out. So it's a great tool, but unfortunately we're not there yet. Maybe someday.
That's it.
I guess did you say that you guys aren't finding, let me rephrase this. What permanent changes are being considered to address the deficit beyond just this fiscal year? Is there anything that can be addressed?
Well, permanent changes would be the franchise fee increase. That's a permanent ongoing change.
Okay.
Revenues ongoing as we move forward. Permanent changes as far as staffing, some of those may be permanent as we continue down this path. Right now, we're tracking them as frozen positions, but I fully anticipate they'll probably go away if we don't, you know, see any changes in this, which I don't anticipate. And we'll probably have to continue to look at staffing changes, reorganizations. A lot of the departments are reorganizing, changing positions. So as we have people retire, maybe someone's done a job for 20 years, but maybe not necessarily that's as they leave and you look at the workload and and what you need for your department. Maybe you reorganize it in a different way. We're doing a lot of that. So those are ongoing long-term changes, but you know, it's little things here and there and a lot of them.
That's everything that I have.
Krista?
I don't have any further questions, but I do want to say thanks for coming out. That was kind of enlightening.
My
to see.
pleasure.
So, thank you.
I just had a couple questions. Trent Kelly for the record. E-tax. So when you had that whole graph showing over the years on how that percentage changes, it went into the negative in 07, 08, 09, which makes total sense. In 21, though, it jumped to 19%. What are things that could cause such a massive increase? And then why does it drop so significantly back down?
Those were COVID years.
Yeah.
And so that was that influx of all the federal surplus money. Individuals got money. They're at home. They're spending money online. You saw 2 years of that. There were 2 years of that big jump. And that was that influx of all that money from the feds into the area and into people's pockets, and people went out and spent it. Following that, it went, you know, back down.
Yeah. Gotcha. That makes sense. And then you mentioned frozen positions a couple times doing, you said 20 a couple years ago, then you added something, you're doing 8 more next year. What do you mean by frozen positions? I guess I just don't understand that.
Frozen means they exist, but they're not funded in the budget, so they couldn't hire them. We're still tracking them as far as, like, for example, I have one in my department. We have 22, well, I have 21 people now. One of those positions still technically exists, but it's not funded. I couldn't hire it anyway. So it really doesn't exist.
Gotcha. Cool. Those are my questions.
Kelly? No?
Rebecca's online. You can join her. She has
Yeah, Rebecca, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. So I know one big question that comes up within the community is, oh, sorry, Rebecca Flannery for the record, is why aren't these developers having to supply more funding to cover things like our sewer and our roads? And is there anything in like the plans that we can have an increase in their budget to contribute more to this instead of leaning so much on the citizens of our beautiful area?
Yeah, you know, I mean, that is part of it. I mean, we look at the fee schedule every year as part of the budget process and what it looks like to increase those fees. A lot of the building fees are dictated by a building valuation table that we use, and we do CPI or building valuation table increases to our fee schedule. But a lot of times the fee schedule, if you do a CPI increase on it, it's not enough to keep pace with what inflation is. So for example, the fee schedule CPI increase that we have for the current year budget is 2.9%. We all know that inflation is not 2.9%. So we're increasing a fee by 2.9%, but it's really costing the city to whatever we're doing for that, producing plans or doing whatever we're doing, anywhere from 8 to 9% is the increasing cost between the positions and the cost of supplies and other things. So we can increase the fee a little bit, but it's still not enough to keep pace.
Rebecca, do you have any more questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Kelly's still online.
We'll try one more time. Kelly, do you have any questions if you can hear us?
I do not at this time. Thank you so much.
Okay. I've been making a mistake of not saying either. Ben Johnson for the record. Sorry about that. I would like to say your presentation was done very well. Most people are not. If you just do the P&L up there, I'm sure they would all lose their minds on what that looks like. So I think you did a very good job presenting that. I don't think most people in this country know what the P&L even is, and so I think you guys did a very good job with the presentation like that. That's all I have. So we'll do one more round, make sure everyone's good. Go ahead and make it.
All the last of anything
Okay.
else has anything.
You have anything?
And
None.
I actually just have one
Yeah.
question that doesn't really relate to anything, but Trent Kelly for the record, you mentioned our rating, our AAA rating, and you said that's gone up a couple notches over the time. What was that at its lowest, I guess, in recent memory?
That I'm not sure. We've gone up 3 jumps on that scale. But at the time we took out the debt, like that retract debt, when that was taken out, the rating was much lower at that time because of the amount of debt that we had outstanding and the impact of the economy. Because when the Moody's or Standard & Poor's, they look at the ratings, they look at not only your balance sheets and everything going on, they also look at the local economy to see, is this economy stable? And in the future, do we think that your outlook is good to make your debt payments? So some of it we control, some of it you can't because it's economy based. But at that time when retract was done, that debt was at a much higher rate. We couldn't get the good loans that we get now. And so that debt has been refinanced several times over the years to get out of some of that. Some of that debt, truthfully, was done through swap rates. And I don't know if anybody knows swap rates here. The debts, actually, the interest rate resets every day.
Oh, wow.
And so there were many years there where we were paying and we weren't paying down at all in that space because of the way the debt was structured. So we've got out of that. You can see that debt is paying down, but it's just going to take a long time. But that's the problem. If you don't have a good rating, you end up with structures of debt that's just not good.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. All right, Kevin or Megan?
Yeah, so I just had some things I just wanted to kind of call out just for information, and you did a great job, Vicky. I just want to kind of go over some stuff. We might in the future have to look at some reductions in services just to be kind of transparent with everyone. Council will have to decide what our priorities are and kind of stick to that. And that's going to be a really important time to hear from the community so that we're making sure that we're able to provide the services that are important to you. I know something that is always really top for me is first responders. So that's who police and fire. Also sewer. We all need to be able to flush our toilet, right, and have water. And then the other categories, some things start to fall into a want versus a need. So that's just something to put out there, not to be doom and gloom, but keep an eye out. We might need to start having these conversations in the future. The other thing, we touched on freezing of positions and things like that. There's also, at the city, there's a lot of different labor groups which have their own individual contracts with the city. So we likely won't get to a place where we're just giving everybody a pay reduction. It's not something that we could just do because each group has a contract. We might be able to negotiate with individual groups to make changes, but it's not like we can just say, well, I'll take a 5% pay decrease. It's not really a possibility. So I just wanted to just give that information because I know we're all trying to think of ways to help with, solutions. Other areas that we might see change is potential regionalization. We have a board looking at whether or not we should regionalize fire, and that would include Washoe County, so the Truckee Meadows Fire, Sparks, and Reno. So they're doing some reporting right now on that to see if that would work for the region and how that would work. If that moves forward, it could potentially save all of the jurisdictions money because resources would be pooled versus, individual municipalities paying for their own separate fire department. So that's not a given, but that's just something that is being kind of actively looked at right now. Also, there's discussions of a park district, which isn't as, far down the road, but there is discussion about parks districts where it would be a similar thing that, like North Valley's Regional Park, we got Dorothy Michael Rendon, we have different parks that are the responsibility of different agencies, either county or city of Reno. That way it would be like they would all be the responsibility of the parks district. So it would likely be more funding. That's kind of a double-edged sword because there's more funding, but then there's also more parks that need to be looked after. Also law enforcement, I'm sure most of you are probably aware that we're having some issues at the Reno Police Department right now. I don't know if regionalization is something that's going to come of this, but regionalization is something that has kind of come up previously, that maybe more discussions will come of that, and that's another area where it could potentially lead a cost savings to individual municipalities. And hopefully, with the police and fire, the other benefit that we would look for would be, better level of service for everyone. Also, just you touched on it too, property taxes. Our property taxes can only go up so much every year. I think it's 3% to 5% for residential and 8% for businesses. Correct me if I'm wrong.
3% for residential.
Yeah, I think rentals were more.
And 8% for
Rentals were 8%.
8% for commercial, and a rental is considered commercial.
Okay. So there's that allowable increase, but there's also depreciation. So if there's, a bubble burst, property values decrease, significantly rapidly, it can take a significant amount of time to get those property taxes back up to where they were before, because you can only do, 3 to 8% max annually. So just to kind of put that in perspective, there is another thing though that could change. I know that our governor has stated that he's now open to potentially doing a change at the state level to have property taxes be set with the sale of the property, I believe. So it's not a guarantee, but that's something that could be coming down the pike, which would have a huge impact on the entire state's revenue. So I think that was it. I know I was gonna write some other things down, but I started talking pretty much right now.
Megan, some of these changes, like Ben Johnson for the conversation. So and you may know this better, what's the percentage of a new construction that we're allowed to tax? You know what it is? So a developer comes in, wants to put in 100 houses, and each house they have to put 1% or something like that, or they have to pay that in taxes. Do you know what that number is?
They have a lot of different things, like a per door thing for fire, or flat rates for different things. The building rules are a lot different, but like when they come on the books, they come on the books at the full value. A new property comes on at the full value, and then it starts depreciating the first year.
Yeah, that's for the property itself, but that's what the developer paid for it, right? So, and the reason why I asked that question is to make those changes. If let's say we wanted the developers in general to now have to pay increase for all new developments, isn't that a amendment that we have to make to like our constitution to do that?
It depends on what it is. There's some things that can be done at the city level. There's other things that maybe depending on what you want it to be applied for, it might have to be at the state level. I'm not sure. It would have to have more specifics on
I understand.
But probably could be done at the city level, but there will definitely be advocates on both sides of the issue if that were to come up. So I know that there was a lot of pushback when we raised the sewer connection fee for developers a couple of years ago. Our sewer fees go up every year on CPI, and their connection fee hadn't gone up for 15 years or something, 20 years. But even at that, they were very upset about their rates going up. So there will be a lot of opposition from the developers if that happens, just to be upfront with you. But there are things like that we could potentially do at the city council level.
That's all I have. Something to follow. Does anyone else have anything on the board real quick? Nothing, right? Is there anyone in the public would like to comment or ask a question?
I have a question.
Okay, just stand up, state your name for the record.
Can we hold still, and can we go back to the slide where you have the franchise tax and I just want a little bit of a clarification.
Yeah. 1 second. There. Is it this one or is it further down? Sorry.
It's the one where she has the franchise, there's a, well, no, no. That one. On the licenses, yeah. Nope, you went too far.
This one.
The licenses. Now, can you explain to me for the record, licenses, is it for development? Is it for businesses?
This is business licenses.
Okay,
Because development would be in, the building fund, that's the enterprise fund.
right.
But this is for business licenses.
So one of the things that maybe the city of Reno and Washoe County should be looking at is, instead of looking at these big businesses, these warehouses, that it's time to start looking at the smaller businesses coming in and get the small businesses going, because this, if you have that going, you have the sales tax going in the same location, it's not being shipped out. With these warehouses, they're bringing all this stuff in, but then it's being shipped out because it's being sold someplace else. And the only reason I understand that part of it is because this one here makes parts and it gets shipped out. So Nevada doesn't get the tax, City of Reno doesn't get the tax. So to me, that's little storefronts, the little home shops are something that I think that the city of Reno and Washoe County should be working on to help maybe bring that up, is my suggestion.
Thank you. I don't know if that was more of a statement than a question, unless you wanted to.
Sorry, well, the question was the taxes and that's.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. Councilwoman Edith, for the record, I haven't said that once, I'm so sorry. No, and those are things that I'm also interested in doing, and especially in these areas where we have warehouses that maybe won't necessarily have a use in the future. If we can potentially convert those into spaces that could be a workspace / storefront. So you could have people that have a small business, live and work in that space, conversion into that. So that's something that I'm looking into. Where it's like two birds, one stone, where you have that type of development and you're also repurposing existing structures. So just to let you know, that's something on radar. Also, just one last thing I wanted to say about the revenue. There is also maybe potential, Vicki, I want to look into with you. There are businesses that come to Nevada that once they're here, they qualify for tax abatements through the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and it's a pretty significant tax abatement. It's like up to 75% of property tax and other sales tax. There are some businesses, and I believe Microsoft does this wherever they do a data center, that are willing to pay that amount that is abated at the state level directly to the city that they're built in. So that's another avenue that we could potentially look at, especially as these larger developments come in that have a larger footprint, that, you know, maybe the data centers won't have a lot of employees, but that's a way that they can, you know, show a sign of good faith and be good members of the community and pay that money directly to the city of Reno. So that's something we could look into in the future too.
Absolutely. We'll look at everything at this point, you know.
Thank you very much. We're gonna move on to C2. The Washoe County Emergency Management River Park Flexible Space Program.
Never fun to follow finance, but here we are. I'm gonna tell you about a fun, successful use of very little money. So on your agenda, it says I'm Elena Berry. That is the intern who actually created this program and presented to the city council. So my name is Sabrina Griswold. I'm with Washoe County Emergency Management. I'm a program coordinator. Washoe County Emergency Management falls under the Office of the County Manager. For those unfamiliar with kind of the structure, I'm a program coordinator with a focus in mitigation. So I oversaw this program and the development of it. And what I'd like to share with you today is basically a great success story that we're hoping to model as soon as funding becomes available again. So it's about a $20,000 success story, as I like to call it. So we'll see if this cooperates with me. Yes. All right. So for a little information, we had to do some pre-planning activities before you kick something off like this. So upon the hiring of the intern did ride-alongs with each of the fire agencies in the jurisdictions. Also, we designed a River Park program website, shown here from the emergency management website, which served as kind of a homepage for all the residents of the area that was ultimately selected, plus for persons like you to learn a little bit about it so that when we have funding available, we hope to do this in more areas. And then last of all, partner meetings, because we can't have everybody participate unless we tell them what we need from them. So the 3 ride-alongs were with North Lake Tahoe Fire Protection District, Sparks Fire Department, Reno Fire Department. What we ask is during these ride-alongs to have our intern Elena learn about their problem areas. What keeps you up at night? Tell me where you want to go. If we have the money, if we have the involvement, tell me where you're worried about and what keeps you up at night. And then Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District, what I affectionately call, gave her a TED Talk about their area, just because physically it wasn't feasible to take her to as many locations because of the expansive nature of their territory and her limited time to get this off the ground. So her research included the neighborhoods that were highlighted during those ride-alongs, also information about demographics, and then using a multitude of websites that talk about historical fires in the area, as well as just situational awareness and knowledge. After doing all this research, she created a small list with 1, 2, and 3 locations prioritized, and then presented to us as an internal team. Upon that, we selected, drum roll please for those that don't know by the title, the River Park neighborhood. So for those unfamiliar, this is in West Reno, a little bit south of 80, below the train tracks. That's also a fun fact for this. This neighborhood has 1 point of ingress and egress. Does this have a pointer on it? And if so, where would I find
I
it?
think it's on the very top.
Okay.
Red button.
The red button.
Maybe? Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so this is the bridge, single point of ingress and egress. You take this road up here, White Fir Street, and you are met by train tracks, which can be shut down at any time, blocking all of those citizens there. So this had a multitude of things, along with the demographics of the persons involved in the area. We looked at veteran status, age, income relative to the mean income of the area, and this was a prime candidate. For those not familiar with historical fires in the area, this has had fires that approach the area. So back here, if this map was extended, none that have come to the outskirts of the neighborhood, but definitely have approached. And within reasonable area, you've had Collin Ranch and other things in that area. So a bit of historical context for those not familiar. Fun fact for the Reno project, are you familiar with a Reno-based mitigation project that happened at the same time? Okay, so in this area, I'm going to call it this fancy L that borders, the city of Reno had a project going simultaneously to be able to take care of the area in like the public land while we focused on the homes themselves. So it was a extraordinarily holistic approach for the whole neighborhood, both the boundaries and internal. So what does it mean to do something like this? First off, it's fast because grant money has to be spent in a very quick time. Interns are expensive and we have to use them appropriately. So it was divided into 4 separate phases, if you will. Our planning phase kind of talked about those ride-alongs, the research, and then we had a kickoff meeting. That kickoff meeting was for internal partners. It takes a lot of volunteer agencies and volunteers to make something like this happen. So I'll give a shout out to some of our individual agencies later, but in large part, it was many of the fire agencies. It was special educational groups like Living with Fire, which is a UNR extension. We had CERT, which is our Community Emergency Response Team, and a few more that you'll learn along the way. Then we had outreach. Even in 2025, the time that this occurred, 2026, best way to get to the people is to go to the people. So we brought them door hangers, we sent them mailers, we went on next door, we had a community meeting. You'll find out later where the community meeting is, but the hint is go where there's free beer. So that's where we did it. For actions, we gave them a time to opt in. We offered in-home inspections which looked at your smoke alarm duration, offered personal preparedness awareness, and then did defensible and space inspections. Then we removed the vegetation. Now we don't like to leave bare land, so we also revegetated. Then we did some surveys. We don't know how to do better if we don't ask you the truth. So we asked for the truth, then we got together, talked about it as partners, and figured out how to do better next time. First, like I mentioned, CERT. CERT hung all those door hangers for us. Extra cool, because it gives CERT a chance to practice for an event and an emergency where we would call upon them to do door knocking for fire evacuation, flood, avalanche, anything like that. We called upon them via the sheriff's office to do that for Washington County Emergency Management. So this is a great opportunity. They distributed the information to the homeowners, left it on the door, and considered that a point of contact, just like they would if they were helping in an evacuation for a wildfire. Next, we sent out postcards. We wanted to do this in the most predominant secondary language for people, so we chose Spanish. The next would have been Tagalog, but we couldn't get 3 on 1, so we got 2. We also did the website in Spanish, and all of our material was available in Spanish as well. Then, here's the free bigger part, right? So how do you get people to come and learn about something? You have to do it where they are. So we were gracious enough to get an opportunity to go to a local brewery housed right across the street from this neighborhood, who the business owner gave us free beer. Everybody got free beer just for coming. And it was wonderful. We not only talked about the opportunity for the program itself, but we talked about preparedness. We talked about signing up for Rave, which Smart 911 is the app for you. Happy to plug that again. But we talked about all-encompassing mitigation, emergency preparedness, holistic. We don't just want to create defensible space. We want you to be educated about why you need defensible space. What is it? What does it mean to you? How do you maintain it? Just because we've been able to come in and supplement once, it doesn't mean the magic happens. Plants grow back. So we really need to educate and have a holistic approach. And that community meeting was a wonderful success. The thing we did learn is maybe bring a booster for Wi-Fi, because that wasn't the best Wi-Fi, and we had a bunch of people trying to sign up. So again, lessons learned. Then we went out into the field and we did those defensible space inspections. American Red Cross, Team Rubicon, for those not familiar with Team Rubicon, they are a not-for-profit organization called the Gray Shirts. They do disaster recovery and mitigation, and they come in, typically we've used them for like the Hidden Valley flooding, but we use them for this as a mitigation opportunity, and then Living with Fire and City of Reno Fire. So amazingly, 6 properties that were inspected needed absolutely no work done. They were pristine. Of the other ones, we did about 39 homes, then 6 of them passed inspections. So we had, 33 left to do in this endeavor. Interior home inspections were done by the American Red Cross. 101 smoke alarms were replaced. This is based on age. Maybe they were dilapidated. Somebody painted over it and didn't really think about it. So a multitude of reasons, but 46 people now are sleeping in a safe home because of this interior inspection. And this is a program that they run all the time. They also come out and do personal preparedness, talk about family emergency evacuation plans, personal preparedness, and it's amazing. It's an available opportunity. Happy to share that with you as well. And then the fun times. We all got together and did vegetation removal. Now, this had absolutely nothing to do with people's physical abilities, right? We all think, well, maybe that person should have just done it on their own. We're not here to gauge someone's aptness and ability to do something. We're here to provide a volunteer service. So many of the homeowners came out and joined us. You can see here that we had some getting homeowner education. You'll see that later. We had one gentleman who literally put himself into one of the dumpsters and stayed there, taking everything from us and packing it in all day. Like 8 hours of him just hanging out in a dumpster helping us. So the engagement was high, not just from the work we did, but from everybody coming out and being empowered to do it themselves as well. So we filled 80 cubic yards in a day and a half, basically. Then, to incentivize revegetation, Moana Nursery was a amazing partner and offered 3 no-cost Firewise perennials to each participant. Firewise being the key word. We don't want to repopulate with something that is not appropriate. So Living with Fire and Moana Nursery got together and used their Firewise plant opportunity to figure out what would thrive in the River Park neighborhood based on lighting, soil, etc. Made a list, and you could come in and pick based on your preferred aesthetic, but they were all approved. And then, because we had a little bit money left in the budget, we were able to put together buckets. This is the intern Elena Berry. She did a wonderful job on this. This is the picture I like to call Mitigation Santa, where she created buckets with all of these resources. So kneeling pads, hand pruners, soil safety glasses, weed erosion barriers, to go out and give to all of the homeowners that participated and were revegetating their yards to make it easier on them. And also we put links on the website to teach them. How do you decide where to replant? How do you take care of these plants? Just because a plant comes with a little tag doesn't mean we know how to put it in the dirt. At least I don't. Maybe they do. So then I like to show this picture. So what do we see in this picture that's concerning? This is a roof eave. This plant is growing up and under and around it. What you can't see is right here on the side of the house. That's where all their electric boxes are. That's where their main gauges are, their backflow, their sewer access. All of that is obstructed by debris and growth. These are the homeowners actively learning with our Living with Fire point person and representative. We're already taking the shrubs down at this point. We're already moving through. And this is what it looks like after. Maybe not the prettiest, right? It goes from like lush and beautiful to safe. And that's the important part. They were so in love with the fact that they could get 3 plants. They bought 6 because they thought they were so cute. So they invited us back to show us that they revegetated. They were so proud. All the neighbors were engaged, and it's just a testament that when you offer people opportunity to not just solve a problem, but prepare for the future, there's engagement. So now is the hard part, right? We have to ask how we did. We can't improve, can't learn how to do better, unless we know where we fell short. Well, they're pretty nice to us. We asked, would you do it again? And they all said yes. We actually offered it to every citizen, resident. It had to be the homeowner. They couldn't make decisions about a property they were renting. But we also offered the survey to everybody so we could figure out what the limiting factor was. We asked if the program provided adequate education on defensible space and home hardening. We received a no. We followed up with them, and they said they didn't read the material that was given to them or listen, but they said, yeah, you provided it. Probably would have answered that as a yes. I'll take that as a win. And then, whoop, too fast. What did we do? Elena poured over all the research, all the emails, all the conversations, and put together what we like to call a defensible space program manual. The moment that we have funding available, we have a step-by-step timeline, points of contact, names, phone numbers, ideas, lessons learned, how to fix them, how to do better next time, ready to go, so that I can apply for that grant, we can get the money, and we can hit all the neighborhoods that we want to. Or, if it can't be for us, I presented this at a summit called Fire Adapted Nevada and shared it within the state of Nevada with multiple counties so that they don't have to do the hard work now either. They just have to read the manual, figure out who that person is in their neighborhood, and make it happen. So here's my boring information if you want to hear from me. I know that Callie has my information if you think of questions, but I'm more than happy to take some now.
Thank you very much. Ben Johnson, the record. I do want to questions. I want to say you're very passionate, and I think you did a very good job presenting this. So,
Thank you.
I just want to say good job on that.
Thank you.
But I do not have any questions. Okay. Go ahead.
Again, loved it. Fantastic. I guess You said that it was, all of the information could be found online, correct?
So the website is still available. I would say that it has 90% of the information. It's not going to disclose like the individual contact information of agencies and such, but it'll give you the full walkthrough of the timeline, a little brief description, some links to the major agencies, but not like here's Bob Smith's phone number and that kind of thing.
It's,
But yes, it's through the Washoe County Emergency Management website.
okay.
And I can provide that later with a direct link, but if you Google like River Park, Washoe County Emergency Management, it probably pop up.
Gotcha, I just put WCE on Reno.
Yeah.
And it popped up, but I didn't have an opportunity to really look and I didn't want to ask redundant questions.
No, fair, and I will be honest, it's varied because I'm in mitigation, so it's like 3 columns deep of like mitigation, River Park defensible space, so,
Gotcha.
you know, it wouldn't be easy to find.
I appreciate that. No, that's okay, as long as I know about where to find it, so I'm like, oh, that would be really useful for myself as well.
Yes.
So, and then how do we make sure that a program as important as this for an area that is fire prone doesn't die when it don't have funding now?
So actually that's part of it. We wanted to empower and educate the people in the community, the residents, to continue these efforts and understand that it doesn't just happen once. You don't just fix your home and make defensible space and it doesn't have the opportunity to grow back. So that was why Living with Fire, a UNR extension, was so critical in this process, because it educated them not only in the work that they could do right then, but hey, next season, because this is a brand new plant, you're gonna need to worry about such and such. Or I think you should think about taking this away if you're not ready to do it right now, because some of us can be emotionally attached to our front yards and backyards and decor. That gave them a minute to process emotionally and then make a decision to do more and more over the next seasons, as well as what can I do in the middle of winter to make sure that I'm mindful of the things that are critical. So that's really Living with Fire, and your fire department, of course, with your fire inspector, Selena Sky joined us. But really, that's where you're Living with Fire, and those agencies are so critical to educating people on what defensible space and home hardening is.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Larissa Meeting for the record. I loved your presentation. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
I have a question that I don't know if you can answer. And it's more curiosity.
I'm ready.
I think you said 17% participated, if I'm not
correct.
So do you know how many homeowners or percentage roughly came to the initial meeting? And then of them, do we know why it wasn't higher?
We received 40 attendees. Fun fact. Great question. I was very bummed at the participation level until I did research about participation in programs like this. It's usually less than double digits. So the fact that we got double digits, riveting. But I would say we got 40 attendees. Those were multiple people per household. So in general, we got about 20 households in attendance, plus or minus, and we got 40 households plus or minus for participation. So we didn't lose anybody from the community meeting. What I will say is that because of the furious pace that this had, when we did the community meeting, the opt-in period was only 2 weeks. And then each of the intervals began very quickly after that. We missed a few people because they had planned vacations, and we cannot do inspections of this nature. The agencies that helped us, both the American Red Cross, CERT, Living with Fire, and Reno Fire, they cannot access property without a homeowner being home and present. So when we would say we'll do the defensible space inspection, but we couldn't help with the removal of vegetation or revegetation because they were gone and we couldn't be on their property without them there. So I will say, taking the time of year, I also did it on, I want to say it was Memorial Day that I held the community meeting. So also my bad because people go out of town and I don't get calendars apparently. So yeah, there were a lot of compounding factors. The feedback we received was not that it was a disinterest in the program. It was simply timing and availability. So we would want to be more mindful of maybe multiple weekends in the future as compared to trying to knock everything out in one weekend, because it's hard. Kids have softball games or soccer games or people go places, and we lost that opportunity because of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, perspective, 20 households showed up and 40 participated.
Yeah.
So they went out and talked, which is great.
For sure.
that's-
And we did choose a neighborhood intentionally without an HOA because we needed to see what would happen with like grassroots. Because an HOA gives you such an incredible buffer and access that we needed to try to challenge ourselves. I mean, like semi-intentionally. If we pick this neighborhood, it comes with its own issues of communication. Like next door was basically the easiest connection. And there was no neighborhood ambassador that we could really find. Like, who's the most active one next door? Let's talk to them. Nobody. So we couldn't ask them to be the leader. So yeah. HOAs definitely make it a little bit easier for engagement as well, at least in organization. Whether it ultimately pans out as participation to be determined, but at least for the entry point.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Trent Kelly for the record. I think everyone agreed. Great presentation. It was awesome. It was fun listening to you.
Thanks.
You had mentioned that your intern was doing these ride-alongs. That was to identify the community that you were going to work with for this program. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, the grant allowed us to choose anything within the jurisdictional boundaries of Washoe County.
Gotcha.
So that's why it was important that the fire agencies lead us to these areas of concern.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And then you said 6 passed inspection. Is that interior and exterior for the defensible space, or was it just exterior?
Exterior defensible space and home hardening.
Gotcha.
It passed 100% immediately. So they were already taking the actions or had made choices over whatever period of time to have a yard and home that was considered 100% compliant by the city of Reno and Living with Fire.
Gotcha.
Working together.
Gotcha. And then last question, you mentioned fire-wise plants. Are these plants that straight up won't catch on fire, or they just don't grow big enough to become a fire concern?
Oh, it is a whole combination of factors.
Okay.
I am not a botanist nor an arborist, so I will not answer it in detail, but I will simply tell you that there are brilliant minds at Living with Fire and all your fire inspectors, City of Reno, etc. It's a multitude of things. It's like, what type of, are you familiar with like a juniper?
Barely.
Okay, so you at least have a context of like what it looks like, maybe what it feels like. So junipers are not a fire-wise plant, and that is because they give off an oily residue, which catches fire and keeps on fire. So when you think about plants like that, it's not necessarily like a height, it's not a growth expansion, it can be the materials that it gives off. It can be the way that it grows and it creeps into other areas that are structural or something like that. That is a wonderful resource. Living with Fire has a multitude of Firewise plant catalog brochures, etc. on their website. And Living with Fire and Moana Nursery are linked on the website for this. And you can see the information about those plants. I would absolutely do you a disservice if I tried to give you like the details of the botany component. So we'll just say it varies and they're specific.
But there's also a lot of reasons that go behind those decisions too.
100%.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Rebecca or Kelly, do you guys have any questions?
Kelly, or for the record, I do not have any questions at this time. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, Kelly. Rebecca?
Rebecca Flannery for the record. I do not have any questions or comments other than thank you so much for your presentation and working with Moana Nursery and the fire department and all that. Seems like an amazing program. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just want to say Councilmember Hebert for the record. Just wanted to say thanks for coming out, and I'm not a botanist either, but I love plants and gardening when I can and when snow's not killing everything. And I just think this is a great program, and thanks for coming out and talking about it with everyone here. And I'd love to see it, grow and just kind of spread. And even if people don't get a chance to work with you, to just get motivated to research it, what kind of plants are good, what are bad, and kind of keep areas cleaned up and just get more conscious about fire safety. And I know I have recently gone and knocked on doors and talked with people to see if they would like to plant a tree in their house, just trying to up our tree canopy. And Reno's the fastest warming city. This ward has the lowest tree canopy. So I feel your pain with trying to find people that would be interested. I knocked doors for like a day and I got one, no, I know, I got one taker of all the people I talked to, but, it really, makes a difference in the community and I really appreciate your efforts on that. And, thank you so much for, talking about it today.
Of course, thank you. You are the reason I'm here because our intern presented while she was still employed with us at city council in the month of December. And as a result, we were asked to come out. So I appreciate it. And we're happy to come back at any time and just talk about it, maybe with another success under our belt, fingers crossed. But yeah, anytime.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going. Handle and Ebert. We skipped over your
Yeah.
section. Would you like to go through that?
Yeah, I'd love to, and I'll try and make it quick, because I got a lot, but, just if anybody has any questions, just holler at me. Okay, Councilwoman Ebert for the record. There, has been a little bit issue with, making sure we have a quorum for the NAB, and I know last NAB meeting, there was a conflict with a, development. They held a community meeting at the same time as our NAB. And a lot of people wanted to go to that, so some, board members wanted to go to that, and I don't blame them. I think it's really, unfortunate when, community members have to decide which meeting they want to go to. I wish that other development meeting had been on another day so we could go to each, but anyways, just want to kind of communicate with the board a little bit and reiterate that we need to make sure that we're communicating and letting the board rep who's kind of keeping track of the forums know if we're going to be here or not. And I'm not sure if there is a method of communication that is ideal for you guys, but if we could maybe agendize this for the next meeting and you guys can kind of talk about it and see if, text message, email, what is preferred. And then that way we just kind of stick to it, because I know my email is crazy. The best way to get hold of me is through text. So maybe there's a way that you guys can say, and this is the way to do it, and to make sure that we all like stay on that, so we know who's gonna be able to make it, or if we need to cancel before we show up. Okay, so that was one. The next one, there's been some approved projects at the planning commission level for Ward 4. One is LDC 26-00037. This is for Ramirez rear setback deviation. This is a major deviation to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 17 feet to allow for an addition to an existing single family home located at 8630 Southwood Boulevard. So this is just a request for deviation to have less than 20 feet but between the home and ER to accommodate an addition. So just kind of letting you know, not really an impact to the community, but I just want to make sure that everybody's informed about what is happening, what is getting approved for Ward 4. The next kind of group of developments, these were on the March 18th Planning Commission meeting. There was the Highland Map time extension. This is for LDC 26-00051. This is a 2-year time extension to record a final map for a previously approved tentative map for a 219 lot single family detached residential subdivision west of Lemon Drive, north of Sky Vista. So this is just a time extension to complete their map. The next one is LDC 26-00052. Mendoza side setback deviation. This is a major deviation to reduce the side yard setback from 5 feet to 2.97 feet to allow for an attached ADU, which stands for accessory dwelling unit. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but we've gone through quite a long process to kind of establish what the city would allow for accessory dwelling units officially. So this was just a slight deviation on what the setback is for this particular project. It went from 5 feet, which is a requirement, to 2.97 feet. The last one is LDC 26-00003, Clear Acre Commons Master Plan and Zoning Map Amendments. This is for a master plan amendment. So this is City of Reno, just to make sure everyone's aware, has a master plan that was adopted in 2017. It is available on the City of Reno's website. It talks about the master plan idea for kind of what we wanted to see happen with development in the City of Reno, and also the zoning map for all of the space within the City of Reno. So this was a change to the master plan from single family neighborhood and quasi-public to suburban mixed use. So this zoning map amendment, it's going from a combination of single family residential, 3 units per acre, and mixed use suburban to mixed use suburban. So it's located on the south side of Scottsdale Road. And this is south of Reno Vista Drive, west of Clear Acre Lane, and north and east of Highway 395. So this is a project that is happening down by Clear Acre. It's an affordable housing project that will have, I can't remember the percentages right now, forgive me, but there's going to be affordable housing and then also a percentage that will be workforce housing, which is, based off of, the salary earned by the person that lives there. So it's all kind of, to help people, with housing affordability. So this is a really big project. I'm really, happy to see this one, get completed. And the April 1st Planning Commission, there was a, zoning map amendment to rezone a portion of a parcel from multifamily, 14 units per acre to general commercial. So this associated map to allow for 20 additional lots, 99 total, at the northwest corner of Sky Vista Parkway and Vista Knoll Parkway. This was presented at the January 15th Ward 4 NAB. So they came in here and showed where this project is. It's kind of on the west side of Walmart, but on, Sky Vista, the right side of Sky Vista, right behind Walmart. And then the last one is Coyote Crossing time extension, 2-year extension to record the final map for previously approved tentative map for 33 lot single family detached residential subdivision near Rock Chuck and Lightning Road. So another point of interest, upcoming city council meeting next week, April 22nd. There is an item on the agenda. It's item C1. This is specifically regarding data centers. This might be of particular interest for our community since we have the most industrially zoned land for that master amendment or master plan I spoke about earlier. This is a presentation and potential direction to staff regarding initiation of a text amendment to Title 18 annexation and land development code to review and modify the requirements for data center uses, together with matters which pertain to or necessarily connected therewith. So what that means is basically this is our opportunity to do things like I mentioned earlier about asking potentially a data center or, the owner of the data center or maybe the user of the data center to reimburse the city for the amount of money that the state abates on their property taxes. So it wouldn't go to the state to be distributed throughout the state, it would go directly to the city. Or, you know, requirements about sustainability measures, like using recycled effluent water or using solar panels to light their landscaping lighting or their office space. Just different things like that. This is the time and place to kind of put those things into code, or maybe restrictions on what type of power generation can be used for backup batteries. They usually use diesel right now, but maybe we want to investigate using lithium battery storage to kind of back up these things. So just that's a really great place to get informed and also provide feedback if you're interested. Also, the next Ward 4 now items for the May 21st NAB. We're going to have Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful come. They're going to provide an update on the Great Community Cleanup and provide additional information about the organization and volunteer opportunities. They're a great group for helping coordinate cleanups. I know, unfortunately, we get dumping around here, illegal dumping in different areas. They're a great resource to help do cleanups. And then also, because of our proximity to like BLM land and US forest and all of that, there's places where City of Reno isn't really necessarily able to help with cleanups, but Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful can, because they can kind of go across those jurisdictions where City of Reno resources cannot. After that, the next two city council meetings are scheduled for May 6th, May 20th, and the next planning commission is May 7th. So just, you know, it was a lot, but I'm trying to just make sure everybody knows what's going on. We have planning commission and city council. If these updates are too much for y'all, let me know. I'm just gonna try and go like this route for a little while and see how we do. Questions?
I don't have any questions.
What was the date of the meeting?
That is 22nd. Yes, this coming Wednesday.
All right. Does anyone in the public want to ask make any question about it? All right. Thank you. We'll move on to item D, or commission's committee member reports.
We do have one last business item tonight.
Am I missing something?
Yeah, secret.
Oh, wow. How'd I cross that up? I'm so sorry. Yeah. Presentation from arts and culture staff.
We have arts and culture staff online tonight. Erica, I'm sharing your presentation. Just let me know when you would like me to switch slides, Erica.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Erica Hill. I'm the public art coordinator at the City of Reno. I'm joined by Megan Berner, who is our arts and culture manager. And I really just am excited to introduce to you a new art project we're doing at Dorothy McLendon Park, tell you a little bit more about the public art process, and have a little ask call to action for you. So next slide, please. All right, so here's a timeline. We're at the start of this project, April 2026. Right now, we have a art task force open and a community survey open. It's the start of the process. And I'll get into that more coming up. The task force itself is a citizen body, and it's to help guide projects and the application. And that closes May 3rd. And after that, that'll go to the Arts and Culture Advisory Board, and we'll get kicked off in May, June. At the end of May, we have a community survey that closes. All of our public art projects start with that. We actually have posters up for both of these at the park. And then going from there, we do a call for artists. And so we'll open for artists to apply. That will be a request for qualifications. That's going to be something that the task force helps with. And then into the end of summer, beginning of fall is the selection of the artist. Finally, the fabrication, the design, and all of that will be October to late 2027. Part of this, okay, great, thank you. So The Public Art Task Force will work with the city staff to plan and facilitate community outreach and engagement, to select a location for the artwork, facilitate a call for artists, select an artist, and gather input. The task force will be active approximately late May through the fall of 2026. These meetings are hybrid. They are determined by the time of the task force members to get everyone there. Sort of the parameters of what we're looking for are eligibility of artists and selection, really also just helping get the word out and get people involved in the surveys, community engagement. All right, next slide, please. All right, so if you are here, that means you are invested in your community, and we are looking for folks to apply to serve on this public art task force. So please go to the QR code here. We also have everything up at Reno.Culture.com, which is our little sneaky way to get onto our part of the government website. So really quickly, who should apply? Our NAB members who are here, individuals who are interested in learning more about the municipal public art process, any Ward 4 neighbors you have, and then people who frequent the park. So we do have these up at the park, but it's really my call to action here to get you all to try to get more people involved. All right, next slide, please. All right, and then we do have a community survey out. We're looking for community members to tell us more about who they are, how they enjoy the park, what type of art that they like to help guide the project. And so we'll use this initial community input to guide the call for artists, and that really helps us determine like what is it that the type of artist we want to solicit. So they'll give us those qualifications. There's also going to be possibilities for community engage later, and it really helps to know some of the things that they want to see. So part of the survey, I just want to point out, has an area for people to add contact information, whether that's their own or for folks to recommend. So it's really helpful when someone goes, oh, you have to talk to, this chapter of Boy Scouts, or you have to come talk to this community group, so that we know who in the neighborhood really has that reach and sort of that investment. Next slide, please. All right, so here it is, the QR code to take the McLinden Park Public Art Survey. And then really, this is something that we're hoping you all will share, take yourself, add in some folks in there that you think would be good to talk to, and then give us your opinion on the artwork. All right, next slide, please. And so that's my quick presentation. I think I might have been the quickest of the night, but I'm really grateful for your time and your attention. Our contact information is up here. Again, I'm Erica Hill, the Public Art Coordinator, and Megan Berner is the Arts and Culture Manager. I will take questions if you have them.
Thank you very much. And for the record, I do not have any questions or comments.
I have none. I'm excited for it.
No,
thanks.
I do not.
Rebecca or Kelly?
Kelly, or I do not. Thank you.
Rebecca Flannery, no questions. Thank you.
Megan, do you have anything you look at?
No, just making you work for the record. Excited about the project. I love to bring art to the North Valleys, and thank you to your team, Megan, for bringing the first sculpture to the roundabout at Sky Vista at the entrance to the North Valleys Regional Park. It's a really great sculpture, and I love the participation from the kids at O'Brien and Middle School. And so thank you so much for their efforts and support in bringing us more art out here.
Eric Hill for the record, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Megan Berner, thank you. We're excited for this project and hope that, you can help us get some folks involved. We'd love to have, as much input as we can and involvement from the community. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Jared Souther from the neighborhood. Can you just speak to what amount of funding is being put into this project, and like how many different possible displays could be a part of this project?
Hi, Erica Hill for the record. We have about $80,000 in funding for this project. That comes from two different times that the park has been improved. And there's not a lot of wall space at the park, so it is leaning towards sculpture. And in the survey, it asked, would you like to see one sort of larger monumental piece, or would you like to see multiple smaller pieces throughout the park?
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public have any questions? I think we're good. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't think I missed anything now, so we go to D. Okay. Board, commissions, committee member reports, announcements, and discussions, future agenda items. Ben Johnson, for the record. I guess, I know we used to have police who come in and give us like a rundown for, our ward. So like, trending, things like that. I don't think we've seen that in many months. And I get time restraints on their part. I don't know if there's just a way for them to maybe share with you, Megan, and so during your report, you can kind of like present it, or at least have the information there. Quick trends for us to see. I always really appreciate those reports from them. I'd like to see some more if you could.
I will say, I also very much appreciated those, and that is something that we had quarterly across all wards since I first got elected. Those went away. Chief Nance decided to no longer provide that information. So way the replacement for that was supposed to be the town hall that happened. Was that maybe a month or so ago? That did not go quite as well as people would have liked because of there was a shooting shortly before that. So it's really turned into kind of more of a town hall to discuss what, RPD could discuss about that rather than what was happening in the community. And Chief Vance also kind of broke the community up into beats and not necessarily on the ward line. So our beat encompassed Ward 4, Ward 3, and Ward 1. So this town hall was for a very large segment of the community. And unfortunately, I know that there were people there from Ward 4 that did not get an opportunity to ask questions or get information, that left really quite frustrated. So that was not really a successful event with regard to providing information to my constituents. Since we've had some changes and we have some different leadership currently, that's something that I have asked to be reinstated. So the sheriff that is kind of overseeing that enforcement and direction of staff in the interim is working on getting those statistics for us to bring them back because it is so important. And I know in social media, there's so much out there and it could feel like crime is just like everywhere. And the best way to kind of dispel any kind of false information is to have actual factual data. So looking to bring that back. I'm glad you mentioned that to give me this opportunity, but I did just meet with the interim chief last week and talk about it. The other thing I wanted to share, and you just reminded me of that, is I've been asking for additional traffic enforcement out here since I've been elected. We all know that there's a lot of unsafe driving out here. And last Wednesday on my drive to city council, somebody texted me a picture of a motorcycle sheriff, on Military Road. And the text said there was another sheriff too writing a ticket to somebody. So I got to City Hall, I was telling the city manager about it, and she was like, yeah, I was gonna call you and tell you. Sheriff Balaam said they did like an enforcement thing out here, and they wrote 77 tickets in 2 hours. So we are getting more enforcement out here. I think having the shared resources of the sheriffs with RPD is definitely gonna help with that. So looking forward to having, fully safer roads, safer school drop off and pickup zones. That's another area I've requested additional enforcement, especially during drop off and pickup times. And so working on that and working to bring back the information from law enforcement regarding, what is happening by ward, because I know each ward is so different. Like, we are not having the same issues as the downtown corridor. We're not. We have very unique things going on, just like, every other ward has its own kind of individual needs and struggles going on. So I am working on getting us more specific information to help with that.
Does anyone on the board have any future agenda items they want to go forward?
No future agenda items, just a reminder to give me your updated information, please, and thank you.
All right, I'm gonna assume Kelly and Rebecca are good. Unless you guys have anything.
I am good. Thank you so much.
All right, we're gonna move on to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make another public comment before we end this night? Anyone online that would?
No.
All right, we're gonna need a F for adjournment. We need a motion for adjournment.
Where's the meeting and motion to adjourn this meeting?
Do I have a second? No, Kelly, second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you much for everyone's time.